Hello everyone, this is Gepwin and I am here in Planet Explorer's item creation. And I'm here to look at sword damage, which I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know about hugely. I've been experimenting a little bit. I've had some people ask, and I've seen this question a lot, of how to make things do good damage without just looking like a big block. So we're going to experiment a little bit and figure out how to make your creations do decent damage and be usable. So, first thing we're going to test out is the different hilts. Now, the different hilts do different amounts of damage, and I put that in the wrong place. I like to have it over 1 so that I can have a line of voxels in the middle. That may just be a personal preference. I think it makes it easier to get the edges and things right. And, it's just what I prefer. So we're going to start with a wooden handle. And just for the heck of it, let's use sand, because that seems like an utterly ridiculous thing to build a sword out of to me. So let's just place 2 blocks of sand in the middle here. And this gives us an attack of 10.1. So let's change out the handles and do a quick comparison. So wood handle gives us 10. If we take that away and replace it with a stone handle, I want to get in the right place even though it's pointless. Not in the right place, but so what? That gives us 15.1. I believe the 0.1 is coming from the sand itself. I do not think that the position matters. It does not. 15.1 from the stone. Copper, which is the highest tier available at the moment. I'm sure there's going to be others later on. And copper gives us 20.1. So we have a base 10 damage, 15 damage, and 20 damage. Sorry, brain froze there for a second. 10 damage, 15 damage, and 20 damage for hilt types. Now the next question that is in my mind, I'm sure it is in some of yours, is does the material type matter when you're building your sword? So this is sand, which you would think would be the worst thing ever to build a sword out of, and it gives us 20.1 attack with this hilt. And that is a small area. So let's actually make a larger sample size. We'll go 3 across and 4 over, and let's go up by 4 just for the heck of it. Make a small block here. Oops, that is not what I wanted to do. Go forward. I wanted to refresh here. This still gives us an attack of 20.1. Alright, the sand has not given us much in this configuration. So, let us select here. Let me remember how to select really quick. Alright, that's depth. Alright, there we go. So, we will select our sand here, and let's change sand to diamond, because as Minecraft tells us, diamond is super powerful. Go back to statistics. This has brought us up to 22.3. So apparently diamond is better than sand, I believe. Let's go back to sand. 20.1. So diamond gives 22.3, whereas sand gives us 22.1, I believe. Yeah, 20.1 and then 22.3 for diamond. Let us fill this material with aluminum. That gives us 22.2. That's alright, let's fill with some gold, just do some quick comparisons. 22.0. Diamond, 22.3. So it seems that building your sword out of diamond gives you a pretty good bump. And something that I was experimenting with earlier, it did appear, let's just put that on the side there, why not? Adding another material to the mix did seem to improve. Alright. That actually made our damage go down. Okay. When I was experimenting earlier, adding another material to the side like this did seem to improve my damage, but now Alright, it improved my damage slightly. 22.5. But let us see if that is an artifact of simply adding more material, or if it's because we're using two different materials. So let's, we now have 22.5, and we're going to fill 23.0. So multiple materials also makes your sword better. We're going to, let's delete this, because it looks stupid. And also, this is in a place that I do not like. I want it more that way. There, so that I can get a block in the middle. That's what I like. Symmetry. So we discovered that diamond is a good base. Well, let's start off with a stick of 10 diamond. This gives us 22.1. Now let's see what happens if we make a stick of 10 diamond going the other way. Alright, 1 by 1 by 10. Still gives us 22.1. So far it doesn't matter if it's going laterally or vertically. And the other rumor I keep hearing about swords is that the edge matters. So we're going to make a block up to, let's do up to 20, just for experimentation purposes. So this is 28.5. Now let's start by adding a thing on the edge. And if you watch my previous sword video where I tried to make an asymmetric sword badly, you will know that you have to hit this red X side, and then the right will be to the right of your character. I was designing it earlier on this side, and the right turned out to be the wrong direction for an asymmetric sword. So we'll add one edge and see what that does for us. So we'll add one edge. There we go. So, add a pointy cleaver edge, which takes us up to 30. Now let's just do a quick experiment and see if that remains constant, if it's in the middle or on the side. That takes up to 29.7. So, obviously the thinness of the sword does give you a slight boost, which I imagine would be amplified with everything else. I unfortunately don't know the math on this. If someone has figured out all the math, that'd be nice to look at. But so far we know volume matters. The amount of material you have, the number of materials you're using, and the thinness of your blade for swords. So we're just going to add, come on, we're just going to add this thinness, bring it back up to 30. Let's add one on this side and see if it calculates only your swinging edge. That takes it to 31.5. Just to control, we're going to also put it on the side here. 31.1. So it does check for the sharpness on both sides of your blade. So at the moment we have this sword, which does 31.5 damage. The only problem being that it looks really strange. Alright, let us just get our selector out here. Depth of 3, no. Get rid of my depth. Alright, let's extend this up, which you can do, add, and then you can use the something keys. Wait, come on, I knew this. Alright, took me a minute to remember the controls. We are going to select the top of our sword. We still have 31.5 damage. We're going to hold down shift and hit space to go up. Let's just bring it up quite a bit. Let's bring it up to something that looks like it would be a good sword length. Come on, stupid program. So, this is our hilt length. I want at least double our hilt length. So let's just bring this up a bit more. That looks like a good kind of medium-sized sword length. This gives us 51.1 damage, but it does look kind of silly and blocky, yeah? Let's add a point on top and see if that gives us any kind of change. I like using the pencil tool. I know it's not the most efficient thing, I simply enjoy it. There's a little pointy bit on top, and let's put some things on the side. I'm not going to be doing any smoothing. 53.8 with this very basic kind of silly looking sword shape. Alright. Let's pretty it up a little bit. I'm going to turn on my mirroring. Make sure that the mirroring is over 1 so that it's halfway through these blocks. Now, as we discovered before, having multiple materials does seem to help. No, don't leave. Let's deselect my tool. I'm going to go straight down here. Let's turn the depth down to 1. We'll select a line here, which will be on both sides, and we're going to replace this with gold. We'll have a diamond and gold sword. Fill material. So now we have this nice shiny stripe of gold running down each side for reasons. Which did not... Oh yes, it did a little bit. So, this took it from 53.8 to 53.4. This took our damage down. Now that is interesting. Alright, number of materials doesn't seem to matter as much. Let's take it back here. Let's just add a little stripe of gold up the side then. Alright, let's just add one by one. Silly, alright, 2, fine. We'll just add a little stripe of gold up both sides. 58.4. Alright, I believe adding does seem to help, but it doesn't help in isolation. You have to have different materials. Oh, come on. This is why I like using the pencil sometimes. Different materials, but on the edges. Simply swapping out one material for another does not seem to help. But as we saw in our previous examples, using a secondary material to add a small amount of material, using a secondary material to add a little bit to your item does seem to up your damage more than just using the same material throughout. This may be a complete fallacy that we just made up in our heads, but it's what we're going with because it's what our experimentation seemed to pan out as doing. I'm going to just build up a little bit of a hilt shape on the bottom. And this is a kind of serviceable sword. However, it only does 62 damage. I think that the way the program works at the moment, we are going to run into this problem. Let's just add some more material on top. I think that the way this is written at the moment, you are just going to wind up with fairly large anime looking swords if you really want the decent damage. 93. I have to fill this. I don't know how it got so weird here. Come on. I'm sorry, I'm misclicking everywhere today. Though if we want some decent damage, we're probably going to have to make a giant anime looking sword. Even this here is still only 87 damage. I believe one of the better base game swords does 100 something damage. Now let's see if adding the sharp edge on this side helps hugely. 111, there we go. Let's give us a sharp edge on this area. The sword is looking terrible. 91, so a huge, unrealistic looking sword gives us 91 total damage, all and all. Now what if we add another material? Let's just stick one piece of silver on the side here. 92. So, using 3 materials ups it a little bit more. So, using mixes of materials and some large anime swords appears to be your best bet. This has been experimentation with swords. If I did forget anything, I wanted this to be a little bit of a quick video. If I forgot anything very important, like, filling in holes and things like that, that could be a bit of a weird issue. Anyway, let's fill that in with some silver. Come on. Seriously? You won't let me just click in there? Oh, right. Fill that in with some silver, why not? Let's see what that did to the damage. Anything? Yeah, by 1 point. Anyway, until they change something about swords, I think large, giant, ridiculous-looking anime swords are going to be the way to go here. I believe... Yes, this is 94 of this giant thing here. Let's load in an old sword. Alright, let's try this one. Don't save. This is a weird one I was making when I first experimented. It is 21 damage, and it is short and weird looking. This was actually something I was just playing with the first time I picked up the game. This is something that I was using in my single player game. First sword that I tried to make look interesting. And it only has an attack of 100. And as you can see, it's fairly large and skinny. Uses, this is actually a single material, but it's fairly large and skinny and has weird spiky bits all over it. Also, the majority of it is single length. Did you see the kind of large anime looking thing that I went with? This is a Master Sword replica I was trying to make. This is actually very low on attack because I don't have a lot of little flary bits. And this is the one that I made in my earlier video, and it actually does quite a decent amount of damage, and I think it's all the little spiky and fiddly bits. So to make a sword do decent damage, I wish that I could flip this around. It bothers me it's facing the wrong way. I think that I might be able to do that if I play with it more. But we're going to experiment more with this. I hope you liked our little experimentation. This is the first episode in trying to figure out how to get the swords to do decent damage. But it would appear that edges, spiky bits, and decoration do help, because this actually uses fewer blocks than the one that I was attempting to create earlier. As you can see, it's mostly just skinny, it's not as long. And it does look a lot better for almost 150 damage. So in short, if you want to make a sword do decent damage, simply play with decorative elements. I'll go into a little bit of how I like to decorate stuff in another video. To leave it short, I don't like large flat spaces, as you can tell. I like spiky bits, I like gaps, I like all kinds of weird sci-fi thingamabobs. I hope this has been helpful. We're going to do some more little experiments looking at damage and things later on. This is just a quick introductory video. I'm Gepwin, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you soon.